Hey guys, I'm Fancy, and you're watching the Good Wives Network. Welcome back to our channel, and tonight the Crime Lines is back for a very quick update from day 13 of the Chad Daybell murder trial. Grab your glass of wine, and let's dish up another true crime case. Well, hey folks, welcome back. Let me grab a grab of water. Oh my God, did you guys, can you see it? I can't tell if you can see this one or not. This is, because I've got the blur on, but my husband got me this really cute little pink, well, it's not big, little, it's big, it's huge. And it's by Reduce, and it's like pale pink, so it matches my iPhone. And he got this for me because he wanted to get me a cup like Emily has her Stanley's, and he just saw this one and he thought it was really pretty. And it will be reviewed on our Amazon shop, and you can go in there and get it. And if you click on the review and watch it and then you purchase it, that helps us here at the Good Wives. But tonight is Monday, April 29th, 2024. Well, okay. It's actually the day afterwards because I didn't get this done until 2 o'clock this morning. So we have to kind of be quiet tonight while I talk to you about this. But we're going to be updating it. So in court today was Chad Daybell, the Doomsday Cult Leader, who is on trial for the murder of his wife, Tammy Daybell, and his stepchildren, Tylee Ryan and J.J. Vallow. And Daybell's co-conspirator and fellow cult leader, Lori Vallow, has already been convicted earlier this year on, I think, all counts. She is the biological mother of Tylee and the adoptive mother to J.J. Vallow. And she has charges in Arizona for the murder of her former husband, Charles Vallow. But I don't know if she was convicted yet or not. I have to go back and check. And then there's another attempted murder of her niece's husband. And then I believe that Joe Ryan, her other husband, Tylee and Colby's father, died of suspicious circumstances as well. Her brother dies of suspicious circumstances. There's just people dying left and right around these people, guys. But I wasn't able to catch but a couple bits and pieces from last week's trial. And we tried streaming it a few times, but I'm still trying to get that back up and running. When we have the new network, we can do it right to our channel, and it's going to make it so much easier. We will even have like an audio section for podcasts. You'll be able to get it all right there, live streaming, live events. It's going to be great. I can't wait. And we're still planning on having that network back up running in June. So keep watching for that. Now, some of the highlights from last week's testimony were, Melanie Gibb. That's the friend that was Daybell and Vallow's friend. And then she was also one of the cult members, and she's also I believe she was one of the co-hosts of their podcast. And there were, she was the one that they asked to lie and say that JJ was with her in Arizona, and when the police called and asked her, she said she hadn't seen JJ in a long time. Now, I don't know whether I believe that or not, but we're going to get into that more as we cover this case a little more in depth. But also, we saw a lot of texts shared last week. We saw interactions between Vallow and Kay Woodcock. And Woodcock is, or Kay is Charles Vallow's sister. So when Vallow learns that her deceased husband has changed the beneficiary of his life insurance policy, that's a big moment, you know. And so, but the big moment that I actually caught was when Vallow's oldest son, Colby Ryan, took the stand for the prosecution. So Colby testified about the day his stepfather, Charles Vallow, passed away. He received a call from his mom somewhere between the hours of 1 p.m. and 3 p.m., stating that Charles had a heart attack and he had passed away. And then around 7:45 p.m., Colby says that he arrived at his mother's home in Gilbert, Arizona, and his sister Tylee opened the front door and hugged him, and she was crying, he told the court. So this is Colby Ryan, and he is Lori Vallow's oldest son. And he is testifying about this. And so the first thing that he testifies about is his stepfather, Charles Vallow, and how he passed away. And here we have Charles and Lori Vallow together. So this is Colby Ryan's stepfather, but he considers him to be his father. He raised him, and he raised Tylee, and JJ is their adopted child, and his sister is Kay Woodcock, the one that we were talking about. There were texts between her and Lori about Charles changing the beneficiary on their life insurance policy. And so he is the one that Colby is talking about here when he's talking about Charles. And this is what happened. And it was extremely tragic. And it was, I'm thinking, I mean, it's supposedly, I think, the first in a long line of murders, but it could even be the second, you know, or even more than that. These people have a lot of death around them. It's very strange. But, you know, so, you know, Colby, he testifies about the day that his stepfather was, Charles Vallow, passed away. He received a call from his mom, and it was about 1 o'clock. Somewhere in between 1 p.m. and 3 p.m. And he stated that Charles had a heart attack and he had passed away. And then around 7:45 p.m., Colby says that he arrived at his mother's home in Gilbert, Arizona, and his sister Tylee opened the front door and hugged him, and she was crying, he told the court. And look, I want to show you what Tylee looks like. So this picture here is actually 3 of the different people that are players in this. So the little girl here, or she's 16, 17 years old here, that is Tylee. The child that she is holding, that is JJ, and the man standing behind her is Alex Cox, her uncle. He is Lori Vallow's brother and basically her lapdog. And we're going to find out exactly how much of a lapdog he might be right now. Give me one moment to grab myself a little drink. Oh my goodness. I will only drink water. Oh, back in there. There we go. I will only drink water if it's like ice cold, like so cold. Anyway, but back to Miss Tylee and her brother on the stand. So let me move this over here. So Colby testified that on the day his stepfather, Charles Vallow, passes away, he gets this text from his mom. He comes there at 7:45. His sister comes to the door. She hugs him. She's crying. And then he sees his mom's brother, Alex, the man in that picture, and he's sitting on the couch and he has a bandage around his head. And his mother, Vallow, Lori, she's outside in the backyard. And so, he continues on giving an accounting of what happened that day. And Colby says that he asked Alex, what's on his head? And then Alex tells him, well, Charles had hit him in the head with a bat. So he had him in self-defense. And Colby went on to say that his mother appeared like completely calm, not fazed at all. She's totally unrattled. And we've seen her do that before when they're asking her in Hawaii when she's married 4 days after, Tammy's passed away and her kids are gone. And Dateline's asking her where are the kids. And she's just two cute cucumbers walking down Maui, So he says she doesn't appear, she appears calm and unrattled. And when he questioned her as to why she lied to him earlier about how Charles had died, she just said, she didn't really say anything about it. She just told him it was a fight had happened. And, yeah, it was self-defense and Alex shot him. That's it. I'm so sorry, but your dad's dead, And then in another tearful account, Colby goes on to detail the last time he saw his youngest two siblings. And he says it was August 30th of 2019 outside of a gym in Mesa, Arizona. And Lori said she was taking JJ and Tylee and they were moving. And Tylee was crying. And Lori said they would be back in a few weeks to visit, but did not say where they were going. Even after Colby texted Tylee's phone on September 8th asking her to send money because Tylee was collecting benefits from their father's, Joe Ryan's, death. And so she would help out every once in a while and Lori would tell them to send the money. It was a whole big thing. And that was why the life insurance was a big deal too. Okay. So he's asking her to send some money to help out because everybody was always running short of money. And that was one of the main things in this. And they testified to that during this whole day too, as well. And part of last week. So there's all different things, but here I'm going to keep going with this because this was so heartbreaking. Just watching this was, Colby, he really loved his siblings and he thought he had a good mom, and it's really sad. Everybody explains that she really changed after meeting Chad. And so, I think of this as kind of like along the lines of like Nick and Gypsy and like which one is the predator and which one is not. And are they both predators, in these situations? And in this situation, I think it's absolutely that these are both predators. I don't know what changed his mother, but she begins thinking that her husband is a zombie and that her children are zombies and that Tammy Daybell is a zombie and they have to be removed so that they can go on to another, planet or whatever the next thing in life is that they believe. And, they were even talking about that they're going to ascend up into the things. It was a craziness. Lori still tells them today that her children are happy and Tammy as well. And, that JJ grew up into his adult self and that he visits her and they're not here. They even had to go through the trial and determine whether she was competent to stand trial. I think it's just a bunch of cuckoo they make up to try and get the hell out of whatever it is that they are, trying to sell. The latest podcast, the latest book, the latest doomsday fucking things that cult people will follow them. These are not people that are normal. So he's talking about how, she takes them away and he doesn't see them again. Well, then Tylee, Colby texts Tylee's phone on September 8th, asking her to send the money. Tylee responded, but Colby didn't remember exactly what she said. The last text he received from Tylee said, "I love you and I love the girls." Colby says the last time he saw Tylee was also the last time he saw JJ. The prosecutor Wood brings up on November 27, 2019, Colby says he was contacted by Gilbert police who were looking for Tylee and JJ. Colby, he also said that he told the police he didn't know where they were. He described the last time he saw them. He said that then he was concerned about Tylee because their conversations did not seem to him normal as to how he normally spoke with his sister. He said that her text seemed off, something was different, and she was not contacting him like she normally does. She wasn't telling him the things the way she normally talks to him. So he assumed she was upset with him for something, but he actually knew she had been going through a lot, So Kaylee FaceTimed JJ and Tylee after he saw them in the parking lot. And that was the last time he physically spoke with them. And so that was last Wednesday that, he testified. And man, it was a crazy, crazy week. I think I was watching Nate from East Idaho News give a wrap up from last week because I haven't got to get everything caught up yet. And he said something like 19 witnesses last week. And so today we're on day 13, and like this case does every day, it did not disappoint today. So it starts off in the morning, 9 o'clock in the morning. Larry Woodcock's there. That's Kay's husband. Charles Vallow's brother-in-law is there. So so that's Larry. So Larry Woodcock is Charles Vallow's brother-in-law. He's married to Kay, and then Vicky Hoban is Tammy Daybell's aunt. Was in the courtroom, and then there are some cousins that were on Tammy's side of the family as well that testify. So on Friday, the prosecuting attorney, Lindsay Blake, announced the first witness that she was planning on calling this morning would be giving a very lengthy testimony. So when she called the next witness, it's Nick Balance. He is an FBI special agent, and this witness will not be shown, on video. He's only giving an audio testimony. I don't know if that's to protect his identity or what, but he has been a special agent since June of 2016. He works in Washington, D.C., and he worked as a U.S. Deputy Marshal for approximately 9 years before he joined the FBI. He is currently a member of the Cellular Analyst Survey Team, which is like CAST. So CAST is a group of 70, 80 different special agent and task force operators. And what they specialize in is using cell phone records to determine like the general location of a phone, and that might be of interest in an investigation. I'm sorry, I'm having some allergy issues. Oh my goodness. So anyway, so Madison County Prosecuting Attorney Rob Wood asks about the training involved to become a member of CAST. And so then Balance testifies that about, where the cell phones of the defendants are, the co-conspirators and the victims were triangulated to what cell phone towers were signaling as they were using them and as they were moving around. So this is basically what this testimony is, and it's why it's so lengthy, because they have to go through all the technical parts of this. And so he had to get, really down in the thing. If you want to see it, go over to, Law and Crime, or you can find Nate at East Idaho News. There's all kinds of, commentary on this, but this is a case we've been covering for a while. And we're picking it back up here now that Daybell is going through the court system. So now what they're going to talk about is a slideshow that Prosecutor Wood is going to talk with this special agent that specializes in the cell phone triangulation and where they ping and how it, all that great crap. Right. Okay. So on the very first slide, they show the location of the cell phone towers is in the Rexburg area. The next slide is a slide showing what a cell phone tower looks like and how they're split up in two sectors. Then there's another slide that shows the phone numbers that Balance investigated in this case. So there's 7 different numbers on the screen. And then they show a slide showing the geographical area where he did the drive test. Now, I don't know what that is, so I'd have to go and look it up, but that's what it says, he was testifying to. And then there was a list of different locations that they put on the next screen. And so here is what is on that screen. It said burn pit in Chad's yard, Tylee and JJ body location, Chad's residence, Lori's residence, Alex's residence, the Salem LDS Church, Holiday Inn Express in Springville, Utah Evergreen Cemetery in Springville, Wireless Revolution in Rexburg, Walmart in Rexburg, BYU-I Library, Sportsman's Warehouse in Idaho Falls, and Marriott residence in Kansas. And remember, guys, this is allegedly, in my opinion, and for entertainment and educational purposes only, and the viewpoints of the host do not necessarily reflect that of the Good Wives Network or any of our subsidiary companies or associates. So then the next slide shows Google location history between midnight and 5 a.m. on September 9th, 2019. This is from a very strange Gmail account. It's Homer J. Maximus at gmail.com. I guess that's Alex's account. I don't know what if it stands for. Maybe it's a Simpsons thing. I don't know. Tylee was last photographed alive the day before, is what they're saying here. So calls and texts were going between Vallow, Cox, Daybell, and they're all pinging back to Daybell's property and on his phone. Cox's phone pinged to Daybell's property. And then the next slide shows that Chad's phone was used between 10:30 a.m. and 12:20 p.m. on September 9th. There were multiple text messages and one call with Lori Vallow. So then the activity is, during the same time frame, they're seeing that Alex is on the property with his device. And so then they go a few more slides and they're showing the cell phone towers and how they're being utilized by devices belonging to Chad, Lori, and Alex all on September 9th. So then they're going on to the next, where the next date that they're on is September 23rd, the day after JJ is last seen live. So this slide shows multiple outbound text messages and one inbound text message between Chad's device and Lori's device. Were made between 3:59 a.m. and 8:35 a.m. Chad sent Lori a text at 3:59 a.m. And so then same day, 9:25 a.m., Chad, his device links up with Alex's device. They do a call. It's only 38 seconds. Later in the day, between 9:27 and 9:57, so just a few more minutes, there's 3 cell phone towers near the Daybell residence, and it picks up activity on these devices. One tower near Lori Rexford's house is also being utilized for her device. The next slideshow, slideshow is Alex's device traveled north from his home to Rexburg toward Chad's home the morning of September 23rd. And so they then find that his device was in and around Chad's property between 9:55. So basically, Alex goes from his home to Rexburg, and he lands at Chad's home on the morning of September 23rd. And his device was in and around Chad's property between 9:55 a.m. and 10:12 a.m. And it was tracked to over where near the side of the house where JJ's body was found. So then they go on to show more activity on Chad's phone the morning of September 23rd. This time it's between 9:30 a.m. and 10:27 a.m. There were multiple calls and texts between his device and Lori's device on September 23rd between 10:13 and 10:17 a.m. Chad's device texted Lori, and it also called Alex once again. So Prosecutor Wood asks Agent Balance if he looked at other times where that same Gmail account showed up on, or around Chad's property. And he said that, yes, there were other times. There was August 7th, August 24th, September 6th, September 25th, and October 15th. So we're going to cover this more in depth when we do a deeper rundown of this case. I will also be working on a blog series for the case. So we've previously written about this case, and we've also covered it before on our YouTube channel, including an all-night 24-hour feed that me, Christina, Colleen, and even Trisha from Web Sleuths participated in. It was a really fun event, but it was a tragic thing that we were celebrating. This thing sure does keep things cold for good. It's pretty good. Okay. So, all right. So then the next witness that they call up, the prosecution brings up is a girl by the name of Hannah Parker. She is a freelance photographer, and Tammy Daybell is Hannah's mom's cousin. So Hannah attended Tammy's funeral and her viewing. She said she went through the viewing line twice with different people. And she said Chad was first in the viewing line, and Tabby and Chad's children were also in the viewing line. So Hannah and her dad ended up having a conversation with Chad. So she says Chad said Tammy had been sick that day, and she had been vomiting and coughing around 10 p.m. And then she threw up again. And then Chad told her that Tammy then went to bed. But Chad stayed in his office, and he just continued working. And then he says he went upstairs around 1 a.m. and found Tammy on the floor, and she had rolled out of the bed. Chad said he found her cold, and then Hannah testified. And while she's testifying, he's over there freaking shit-eating grin, smiling. These people make me so mad with these damn smiles. Okay, guys. So what you're looking at here is the Daybell home. And this is on 104.3 wowcountry.com. So this is their home here. This is the front of it. And so this is where he lived with him and his children. And see, they said here, he's also facing charges of grand theft and insurance fraud. Okay, and so let's go on here. This is going to be important in about a second here. So from here, it looks like it's a one-story home. But if you keep going down here, we can look at the interior here. There's 4 bedrooms. It's got a great size kitchen here. This looks like an office room of some sort. This is, You know, we've got a living room, another one of these rooms here. It's a different angle of the living room. We've got more bedrooms. This is the garage down here. Half bathroom. A set of beds in another room. Same room. Okay. So here's where this second story comes in. It's in the back over there. Here's the rest of this. It sits on 3.75 acres of land. Oh, yeah. And then they throw in a bonus. They tell us, so it's if not even creepier, if the house isn't creepy enough. Did you guys know that Lori Vallow was on Wheel of Fortune? Yeah, that's hilarious. Okay, so alrighty. So anyway, the reason that becomes relevant is because they say that he said about 1 a.m. he went upstairs and found Tammy on the floor, and she'd rolled out of this bed, and Chad said he found her cold, and Hannah testifies, you know, he's supposed to be smiling there, you know, at her. And so then Hannah says Chad appeared calmer than she would have expected. He'd only get emotional when Hannah's dad started getting emotional. And so then he'd stop when her dad stopped crying, which, you know, I cannot diagnose him technically, but I mean, in my opinion, allegedly, and for entertainment and educational purposes only, that's what sociopaths do, you know, because they don't know how to have regular feelings, right? You know, so they mimic feelings. And so that makes sense to me when she's saying that he did that, and he, you know, he's crying, and then his friend stops crying, or her dad stops crying, and he's like, okay, so now it's appropriate to stop crying. I'm gonna stop crying. And she said, it stood out to me because I would have expected someone who just lost their partner to be a little more distraught. And to be fair, you know, we have to understand that everybody grieves in their own way. Some people do not grieve right away. Everybody goes through their grief process, you know, the different stages of grief in their own way. So we cannot judge just because of that. So around 2 hours later, Hannah goes through the funeral line with her mom this time. And she says Chad tells them what happened. Tammy had been coughing violently, and he had become worried about her. And so between 9 and 10 p.m., she came down to his office, and she said she was going to bed. Chad said he was worried about her, and he went up to bed with her. But around midnight, Tammy rolled out of the bed. So then Hannah was confused by the fact that they were I'm sorry, my computer just warned me that it was running out of battery, so let's plug her in. So Hannah's heard two different stories now, you know, once going through with her father and now going through with her mother. So she didn't think to ask any questions, you know, but Daybell's defense attorney, John Pryor, he cross-examined Hannah as well. And he asked Hannah if she ever gave a report to law enforcement. And she said she did in August of 2020. So she had met with investigators actually 2 times. So then Pryor goes on and asks her if she's aware the home is a 1-story home. And she says she has never been to the house, so no. And then Wixom, the prosecuting attorney from Fremont County Deputy Prosecuting Attorney Rocky Wixom, with a follow-up question. He asks Hannah if she or her dad asked Chad any questions about the layout of the home, and she said no. But she said that there was no doubt in her mind that Chad talks about going downstairs. So then there's one last witness for today, and that's Patricia Lader. And it could be Ladder. I might be saying it wrong, but and she's Tammy's first cousin. So Tammy Daybell's first cousin. So like I said, Fremont County Deputy Prosecuting Attorney Rocky Wixom, he questions Miss Patricia, and he asks if they had a strong relationship when they were younger, and she begins to cry. And she says they are 7 months apart. And so they were actually raised like sisters, and they grew up with each other. So Patricia said that they spent weekends during the summer with each other, and they always wrote letters back and forth. They were best friends. They drove to school together every day. And Tammy encouraged, Patricia to join the school band and take classes with her. So they were really, 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 really close. They both taught school. So Tammy would leave little notes for her in the classroom. And Patricia even said, that she still has one of those notes. And she was in tears when she told the courtroom this. So Wixom goes on and he asks Patricia, how often does she speak with Tammy after the Daybells moved to Idaho? And at first they spoke every few weeks, and then it went down to just once a month. And so he goes on to ask her about a time period of October 19th, 2019. That's the day that Tammy died. And Patricia says her mom called her and was crying hysterically. And she told Patricia that Tammy had passed. And Patricia actually said it did not even register who she said because it didn't make sense. My cousin Tammy had passed. It didn't make sense. And she goes on to say it was confusing because, Tammy was really healthy and she was young. So she didn't understand why her cousin just up and, suddenly dies. And so she went to the viewing on Monday following the death, and then the viewing before the funeral the next day. And then on Monday, she went alone to the viewing. And when she walked in, she said she was really upset, and she and Hannah went through the viewing again. Patricia and Hannah, her daughter, they went to talk with Chad. And so Patricia says that, she tells him she's sorry for his loss. They hug. And then she asks him what happens. And this time he tells her that Tammy wasn't feeling well and she was coughing a lot. And he asked if she was okay. And she threw up and she said she was going to bed. And he asked her if she was okay. And she said, yeah. And she was feeling better after she threw up. And then she went up to bed. Wow, he must have caught the gypshit lying bug, I don't know. Anyway, so then Patricia recalls Chad telling her this, and she said, and then Chad told her that, well, Tammy loved you so much. And Chad then tells Patricia that Tammy went to bed around 10 p.m. and he stays up working. And then he went to bed later and he woke up the next morning to the sound of Tammy rolling and falling out of the bed. He told Patricia that Tammy was half on, half off the bed. And then, Patricia goes the next day to the funeral. Oh, my nose. Oof. There were a couple of things he said she saw that I thought were very nice. She said, that you weren't very nice. Oh, that's right. Yes, this was awful. Oh God, he's such a jerk. She says, referring to Chad, one of the first things he said was she wasn't easy to live with. She was lazy and she had depression, which she did. But to say it out in front of the whole congregation was embarrassing for her. And she says, after Emma told a story about Tammy wanting more pets, Patricia looked at Chad and he looked a little concerned, but then laughed. And then Garth told a story about Tammy playing video games and she would be the lookout for when Chad got home. And then Chad looked concerned for a split second, they said, but then started to laugh. And Patricia says, she always felt like she needed to go home when he was there. So on cross-examination, Pryor asks her if it would surprise her to learn that in the last year of Tammy's life, phone records show there was no communication between Patricia and Tammy. And she says that's not correct. They would message on Facebook and text, and Patricia says Tammy would call her a lot. So Pryor goes on and he says, does she recall any discussion at the viewing about Tammy or Chad going upstairs or downstairs in the house? And she said she did not recall. So he has no further questions. And the state may recall Patricia later, but she's dismissed for now. So then they have this sidebar. And they talk about the little house, and it says the defense and prosecution had a sideboard with Judge Boyce. And, they wanted to point out that while the Daybell home may not technically be 2 stories, there are stairs up to a 2nd-story loft above the garage, which is what I was showing you in the back. So Big says their next witness isn't going to be there till next Wednesday. So we dismissed so they request for the court to dismiss early for the day. And so we're reconvened on this till Wednesday. And then Judge Boyce did say that this is a complicated and complex schedule for a trial of this length. So they're going to break early. And that's it for today on the Chad Daybell case. On the next episode of The Crime Lines, we'll be discussing this each night. I will be wrapping up. Hopefully I'll get it out before, the next day. I'm hoping to get them out, by about midnight each night so that you guys can be caught up on what happened the day before. And then once we come back from my grandson being here, we'll be driving into this more. Okay, and we have talked about this in depth before on our podcast and on Murder by Design on our YouTube channel. And we have talked about this before on the Good Wives Network in blog posts. Christina might have even done one. So thanks so much for tuning in and dishing true crime with the Good Wives and Murder by Design. Don't forget to join our Patreon membership club to get exclusive mini episodes, inside documents, and pictures from the case, and live YouTube discussions, and get some amazing Good Wives merch. That's patreon.com, goodwivesnet. You can see a lot about the Gypsy case in there. There's other things in there. Colleen has done historical articles in there. We've put other types of stuff from other cases that we've covered. We have a interview with Jack Holleran. So there's a lot of cool stuff in our Patreon membership club. We start off at $1 and we have our highest level is $50 a month. And we're working on different perks, and your guys are getting some special merchandise I'm working on for over there. Follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at GoodWivesNet. On TikTok, I am SpicyRed92. Sarah, who joins me often, is SadieBeth1. And we have also just launched a new Good Wives Network TikTok under Good Wives Net 2. And yes, right now there is no logo or anything, guys, but it is ours, and we will be working on, I'm going to be uploading all of my old videos, and then on top of that we will be covering more things that are just the Good Wives over there, and then my spicy commentary can come over here, so you guys get more of my personality over here and business goes over there. Okay, so, and for more inside information, check out our podcast, The Good Wives Guide to True Crime, on any of your favorite podcast players, soon coming to the Good Wives Network. That will be out. And don't forget, you can go to thegoodwivesnetwork.com to see more of what we do here at the network. And right now, today, well, yesterday, we're going to pretend it's today because I haven't gone to bed yet. We have it so you can pre-order a copy of our paperback. You can pre-order it with without a signature. You can get my signature by itself. You can get Colleen's signature by itself, or you can get both of our signatures and you can order it right on our website. These will be personalized signatures. They will not be stamped. If you tell us a little bit about us when you're ordering them, we will make sure to address them directly to you. So the companion to the Good Wives Guide to True Crime is our book coming out. It has transcripts from our 13 episode podcast, The Good Wives Guide to True Crime. It's going to have documents that have never been seen before, pictures. It's going to have an update on the chromosome disorder that we have discovered. It is also going to have some updates on the medical history. We will be giving commentary on what we knew at the time and where we're at today. You'll get to hear some stories about Christina, and we're just super excited to do this. It's our first book. We will have a surprise chapter at the end for a new book that has nothing to do with this case. And then we are still working on 2 more books, and our documentary is coming right along. So, you know what, guys? Have a good one from the Good Wives, serving up true crime, one dish at a time.